Hello friends, Hansen here again to be your proverbial old man yelling at the cloud within the video game industry. Welcome back to INT Media, a video games analysis YouTube channel. Your presence here is always appreciated and felt, if you can believe that. I got a hot one for you today, fellas, a take in which I might receive criticism and rebuke from my video game loving comrades, but, as the great Mike Shinoda once famously said, turn my mic up louder, I've got to say something. So I'm playing Starfield, just like many of you out there. I've put about as much time as conceivably humanly possible into the game between working and managing a household and all of that other shit. And on the morning of September 6th, even after working a 12-hour shift, I still rolled in and created my character and conquered the lab on Crete, the moon of the planet Ancelon in the Nereid system. And despite the fact that my eyes may have been oozing, I still had a hell of a time, and I am having a hell of a time with Starfield. I also managed to hold out on not spending $100 for early access, but I kind of regret it because I know I'm going to want to mess around with DLC in this game when it inevitably drops, but at least I have discipline, kinda. And fellas, while I still have a long way to go, hopefully hundreds of hours if I'm lucky, I feel like I can say the following things with full confidence. Starfield is one of the most interesting games I've ever played. It's not since Red Dead Redemption 2 or maybe even Fallout 4 that we've seen a game balance this many systems and honestly, even different games within the game itself, and yet play so damn well. This game is a space magic shooter like Destiny, a building simulator like Roller Coaster Tycoon, a walking simulator or exploration game rivaled only by Death Stranding, an immersive sim like Deus Ex, and a space fighter jet simulator like, well, I don't know, Starfield might have the best and most elegant spaceship combat ever seen in a video game, and that's just what I think. Starfield also feels like it's shallow enough for a baby to sit in, yet deep enough for an elephant to drown in. And here's what I mean by that. I feel like you could give this game to a 7-year-old and they could have a good time with it. They might not have any clue what they're doing given that they're not a sentient human yet and won't be for another 18 years, but they could still play the game and enjoy it. Yet I can also give this game to someone as smart as Bill Gates, or give somebody that's very experienced in these Bethesda-style role-playing games that is very well versed in shooters, exploration games, all of the above, and they can enjoy it too. And very importantly, the writing, voice acting, and role-playing are top-notch. This is arguably the best role-playing that Bethesda has ever had in their games, and only time will tell if that claim is true, but that's kind of what I'm feeling right now, guys. Plus, on top of this, this game apparently has a New Game Plus system that I haven't had a chance to interact with. And my theory here is that this is going to add a lot of replayability to this game, which is always super, super important when it comes to a successful RPG. And on top of all of that, Todd Howard might tell some sweet little lies that we know and love him for, but he didn't lie about this, and I'm going to stand by this claim. This game really is Skyrim in space, all the way down to a certain naming convention for a certain gameplay mechanic that I don't want to spoil here. This game nails a lot of the little things, yet also gets a lot of little things wrong. For the little things it nails, the environments inside this game, inside spaceships, on planets, within the cities, the environments in this game are on a Naughty Dog-like level attention to detail. And yes, I just made that comparison. When you're walking through these environments, man, you are going to see what I'm talking about. They are so detailed. There's lots of little monitors sprinkled throughout the levels that seem to all be different and have their own little blinky lights and interesting little facets. There's whiteboards that you can find in the game that always have interesting little letters and notes. The environment design and the environmental storytelling that's present in Starfield is just, I think it's on another level, man. Like, this is, and if they can keep up this level of quality that I've seen in the game so far throughout the scale in which this game promises and that what I know it can propose, I'm going to be blown away. In addition to this, Bethesda Game Studios has also made a few tweaks to how encumberment works in the game, and I gotta say, like, I'm a huge fan of I know encumberment has generally, if you've been paying attention to the conversation, it's generally been something that people have complained about. People think that you can get over encumbered too easily in this game when you pick up all the little things. Like if you're picking up a lot of junk, a lot of weapons, a lot of outfits, stuff like that, it would make sense why you get encumbered so easily. But look, man, I gotta say, like, they've tweaked the encumberment system to where now you can still run at full speed when you're encumbered, but you just lose stamina, or O2 is what this game calls it. It's like your oxygen levels. You lose that more quickly if you move more fast when you're over encumbered. And furthermore, like once you deplete your stamina meter, you fill up with a CO2 meter, which can apparently hurt you in some sort of way. But I just think this is really interesting. It's a really interesting kind of gamification of how Bethesda Game Studios has traditionally done encumberment in their games. And I gotta say, I'm a big fan. I am currently fast tracking the weightlifting perk because I need that. And I'm trying to use my companions and optimize space as much as possible. And I think encumberment's going to be one of those gameplay systems that people either love or hate. I wouldn't say that I love it. I more so I kind of enjoy the aspect of having to tinker and optimize how much things I can carry in my inventory in the game. I just think it's a fun little gamification of the way in which you pick up things. And it's only in these kind of games, it's only in the Bethesda games that we see this. But it's a really interesting system, and I gotta say it's very innovative, and it was something that I hadn't heard anything about prior to when I started the game. And I just think it's a really interesting way in which they've changed things up a little bit here. I also gotta say, combat in this game is really fun. You can feel the ways in which id Software has kind of helped out and refined the shooting in this game. Guns feel great, melee feels great. I've heard unarmed builds are kind of unplayable, which is a huge bummer, but I think everything else is fun. I think using the boost pack in combat is super great. I think it's fun. It adds a variety to combat. It's a little spice there. All the guns feel good. I don't really have any complaints. I think there's a bigger emphasis in this game on having to use your mines and your grenades, which is kind of interesting, and we'll see how this continues. I haven't unlocked the powers that you can get in this game. If you watch the direct, at the end of the direct, they kind of showcase that you can get some sort of like space magic bullshit. I haven't unlocked that yet. I think once I do that, I'm gonna like the combat in this game even more. But yeah, I gotta say, like, it's great. I know that this is a little bit of a critique that this game doesn't have a substitute for VATS, we'll say, in the game, and I don't really feel that way personally. I think once I unlock the power system that's in this game, I'm going to be super content on not having VATS, because the shooting, I think, feels really good, and there's more than one way to skin a cat, I think, when it comes to combat, because, and this is another little thing that I love about the game, this game's minigames are on another level. So there's the two that I've encountered so far. I don't know if there's more, but there's the lockpicking minigame and the persuasion minigame. The persuasion minigame is fucking awesome, dude. Like, it is so enjoyable to level up your persuasion skill and actually feel like you can talk your way around combat, and it really feels like you're having to persuade a character to do what you want in this minigame, and you're just trying to fill up that little bar, and you have more risky options that you can pick within the minigame itself, and it's just like really fun. It's super great. And then I also got to say, the digi picking system, or whatever it's called, that's a super fun lockpicking minigame. I think that lockpicking from Fallout 4 is already pretty fun, and Skyrim, I think it's already a pretty fun minigame, but this is a really interesting innovation on lockpicking, and the digipick system is cool. It's fun. Currently trying to level that up. It's cool. I'm glad that there's not like a science sort of minigame in this game. I don't know what it is with science in the Fallout games, but I can never figure it out. I'm probably too stupid to figure something out like that, but it is this. I don't really feel like the science game is needed here. I think the persuasion minigame along with the lockpicking minigame is perfect, honestly, like perfect. And I do have a little anecdote that I would like to share regarding the persuasion minigame, because I thought this was dope. So I'm not going to get into the specifics here, but essentially I was doing a quest and I had to go kill this dude on a ship, and when I hailed the ship, I was able to persuade the captain into killing this guy for me, so I didn't have to go on the ship or do anything, which I thought was awesome. Like, I just talked this dude into killing some random guy on a ship. It was crazy. It's the role-playing and the ways in which the multiple ways that you can solve problems is super, super fun, and it's very refreshing to see this back in Bethesda Game Studios games, because this was pretty absent from Fallout 4, I have not played Fallout 76. I don't plan on playing Fallout 76, but I have a feeling it's not there either. So it's good to see that it is back in Starfield. There's also a couple of little things that Starfield definitely does not nail quite so well, and they are as follows. So the menus in this game are pretty bad. You'll get used to them, just like we always do in video games, but you gotta know they kind of suck, and that's just the way it is. And this might be a bit of a weird critique, but I do have to say this game is a little too ambitious, and I say this even though ambition is inherently Bethesda Game Studios' calling card. But nonetheless, you can clearly tell that this game at one point was like a No Man's Sky type game where you could fly straight down into the planet, and from the planet you could fly straight up into space. And that clearly got nixed, and they had to add in a lot of like fast travel and loading screens and stuff like that, which is neither here nor there. I think the game is fine in that way. And I gotta say, I don't know if the whole 1,000 planets thing is gonna pay off quite in the way that like Todd Howard and Bethesda Game Studios had in mind. There's a lot of empty space in this game, which is kind of a bummer, and it's a little too ambitious in my opinion. Like, I think the game is clearly begging for vehicles. Like, if I think in a DLC or some sort of expansion, like if they add something like horses, like maybe it's not like a rideable mount, but maybe it's just like, you get like a motorcycle or like a little ATV or like something like that where you can drive over these planets. Like that would be super cool. This game is begging for it just because the planets are so big. But yeah, like this game's a little too ambitious, and that clearly shows, but I don't really hold that against the game too much, just because, again, like that's what Bethesda Game Studios does. Like, they shoot for the stars, and like you're gonna get a little Bethesda jank along the way. And I gotta say, like, as always, the Bethesda jank is still there. I personally kind of love the Bethesda jank, and I love the little derpy and funny ways in which characters, assets, and gameplay mechanics just, they simply don't work at times. But the game isn't buggy, which I really do appreciate. Like, you're not gonna, I don't know, some bullshit isn't gonna happen to you because the game bugged out. You know what I mean? It's just a little janky sometimes, so you got to keep that in mind before you start playing the game. Finally, this is kind of the last weird little critique that I have, but the way in which you rank up skills, I don't know how I feel about it yet. So just so you're tracking, like, when you're leveling up your skills, the way that you do it is like you use a skill point to essentially open a skill, right? So once you use a skill point, you can unlock a skill, and then you have to do certain things to get to the next evolution of that skill. So like, let's say you're trying to get your handgun certification. The first rank is like you do like 10% more damage with handguns. Well, at that point, then you have to kill like 20 people with handguns, and then you can unlock the next evolution of the skill. And the only critique I have about this is like, it's kind of weird if you just want like one rank of a skill and you don't plan on getting the next rank, then the sort of little mini game that you have to do to level up that skill in the first place is kind of useless. So I don't know if it's going to pan out quite the way Bethesda had in mind, but I don't know how I feel about it yet, so you got to keep that in mind. But yes, fellas, these are my general thoughts about Starfield thus far. I think I'm enjoying it a lot. A lot of people say the beginning of this game isn't fun. I don't agree. Like, I think it's good. I'm a firm believer that this game is going to get exponentially better as it continues, and I could see that. But at the same time, like, I don't think the beginning of the game is bad. That's just my opinion. So I still have a long way to go. I've only put a little bit of time in, but I wanted to share with you all what I'm thinking so far, because this is a very important game to me, to you guys, and basically for the industry as a whole. It's a massive game. It's very important. So wanted to share my thoughts here. And finally, before I head out and before we depart today, I have to reattack many of the, well, I guess the review discussion that dominated the conversation a lot last week. And I got it. Look, dude, like, I'll just summarize my thoughts here by saying this. Starfield is not a 7 out of 10, and it is greater than 85 on Metacritic, and it is certainly better than like a 6.5 or like a 5 or whatever it's hovering around right now in the user reviews. on Metacritic. That's just the objective truth about this product. I just went to look and verify, and Starfield is currently sitting at a 6.4 user score for the Xbox Series X version of the game, and that is just lunacy, dude. That's not it, dude. You could point to a lot of factors that might be the underlying causality of this situation. You can point to the weird need that the video game industry feels to give video games a numbered score, when in reality they are so much more complex and dynamic than that. I don't know why our industry decides to go with so many numbered scores. I think that's part of the problem. I think there's a lot of trolls in the video game industry, and there's a lot of trolls that happen to like to play video games, which is super annoying. And those sort of people just tend to review bomb games like Starfield. Like, you saw this also with like The Last of Us, where that game is objectively very, very good. Say what you want about it, say how you feel about the story, you can't deny that it is a near perfect level of quality, right? Nonetheless, these people come out and want to desecrate something that's just not. They want to desecrate something that is of a very high quality and try to pretend like it's not. And it's just kind of insane. Like, I think I understand, like, if you really think Starfield is a 7 out of 10, like Dan Stapleton's IGN review, I think it's a good review. If you read the review, I don't know why he gave, like, based off of his review that he wrote, it makes it sound like the game is at least like an 8 or an 8.5, right? But then he gives it a 7, and then the guy from GameSpot gives it a 7, and it's just like, do you guys really? I think this is what it kind of boils down to here, fellas, and this is kind of what I want to cap it off with. In my opinion, in my perspective, a good video game review is a perfect marriage of objectivity and opinion. A good video game review is an objective opinion, and I know that it's paradoxical to say that because those two terms inherently contradict one another, but at the same time, that's what a good review does. It provides your nuanced perspective about a game while objectively presenting what the game is, what it does, how it compares to its competitors, and all of the rest. Like, and I get frustrated when the video game industry, video game players, influencers, those who cover games, sit here and pretend as though their opinion about a game is more important than the objective reality of what the game is and its place in the industry and its place amongst its competitors. That is just kind of lunacy. It's very prideful, and it's annoying. It makes the whole business of playing games, and it makes the whole business of talking about games, and it makes the whole business of covering games, it makes it like it's TMZ, when in reality it should be, we should discuss these games over a cigar and a glass of bourbon over a fire. You know what I mean? Like, it frustrates me so deeply because I think I see video games as such a high level of artistic and creative expression. That is ultimately how I view and see video games. And when these fucking people that just want to inflate themselves and inflate their thoughts and inflate their opinions over the greatness of what video games are and the greatness of what video games can do and in the ways that they can entertain us, allow us to escape, allow us to have fun, and allow us to just be kids again, they just kind of ruin it. You know what I mean? And like, I'm at the point now where like I play Starfield, and like these people's opinions don't fucking bother me when I'm playing the game, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, I'm just playing the game, and I have this thought where I'm just like, these people know, like, if they truly played the game and truly went in with an open mind and approach this product from a fair perspective, they know what it is. So why are they trying to pretend that it's lesser than it is? It doesn't make any sense. And I'm tired. I'm just tired. I'm tired. But anyways, fellas, Starfield is going to go down in my opinion. I have no doubt that this game is going to be Bethesda Game Studios' greatest success since Skyrim. And if I had to make an assessment either way, I fully predict that this game is going to surpass Skyrim in terms of its gameplay prowess, its RPG capabilities, its replayability. Like, this game, people don't really see its greatness yet, I think, and you just need to let it kind of marinate like a piece of chicken, you know what I mean? Just let it sit there in the Worcestershire sauce and the salt and the pepper, you know what I mean? And let the opinions kind of soak in, right? And once that happens, people are going to understand that not only is this a good Bethesda Game Studios RPG, it's a pretty generational title, and it's going to inspire people to get involved in space exploration, and that's really exciting. And I'm pumped to see what this game is going to do on our culture. I'm excited to see what this game is going to do for the video game industry, and I really love it, and I am super happy that we have it, and I'm pumped for the team. I'm pumped for Todd Howard. I'm pumped for Pete Hines. I'm pumped for everyone at Bethesda Game Studios, especially Emil Pagliarulo. I got to give him a shout out, dude. Like, the writing in Starfield is top notch. He is their writing and narrative lead, from what I understand, and he kind of provides like the broad level perspective. So shout out to him and his team especially. They've done an incredible job here, and I can't wait to jump back in. Like, honestly, like, I got a lot of work to do this weekend, and it's frustrating that I have to spend so much time away from the game that I want to play so bad just to kind of cover it and also do other things for my real job. So, but anyways, boys, that is all I've got for you today. I appreciate you tuning in. I know this is a long one, so I appreciate you hanging with me. But that's all I got. This is Hans, and with INT Media out.